Welcome to our opportunity event. I wanted to pop on really quick and share a little bit about myself. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Kira Peterson and I live in Velva, North Dakota, and I am the leader of this amazing team, Legacy Lady. My journey with Norwex started 2 years before I became a consultant. I was invited to a home party, a Norwex home party in 2010. It was about November. And I remember getting the old school invitation in the mail. And I read it. It was from my daycare lady, who, my daughter Bella, who is just about 8. Holy cow. She was 4 or 5 months old at the time. And so my daycare lady took really good care of Bella and I wanted to keep her happy. So I sort of felt obligated to go to the party. I was working full time at the computer store in Minot. I was a service manager there. Straight out of college is pretty much where I was working at that job. I graduated with bachelor's in management information systems. So I have a very sort of techie background with a little manager sort of, I don't know, minor, I guess. So I love all things computers. I love all things technology. And so I was invited to a cleaning party. Velva is a very party-strong little town. We're a town of about 1,000 people, and there's always usually somebody hosting a party, a Pampered Chef party, or a bags party, or a jewelry party, or a pots and pans party, or whatever. And so I go to all of them. I love them all, and I got the invite for a cleaning party, and it was the first one I'd ever been invited to, and it was like, wah, wah. I remember thinking, what? Is this the new thing? 31 was kind of like just launching and everybody was having a 31 party. So I remember, okay, fine, I'm gonna go to this cleaning party. I told my husband, Ryan, I said, I'm gonna go over to Victoria's. I'll be there for like an hour. I'm gonna spend 20 bucks. I'll be right back. Like I totally had this mindset going in that I was not interested. I was gonna spend 20 bucks. See you later. And I remember walking in, the consultant at this party was at the time one of the teachers in Velva. And I had gone to school with her boys back in high school. And I remember thinking like, oh, okay, well, I know this person, and obviously I know the host, so I might be a little interested now. And this consultant, her name is Linda, she started cleaning butter off a window and showing the mop and all this stuff, and I remember kind of inside going like, yeah, but I really like my Clorox wipes. We don't have a Sam's Club or a Costco or anything like that nearby. I don't even know. I think maybe Bismarck has a Sam's Club. Anyway, I used to go to Target and buy the tubs of cleaning wipes, disposable wipes. I remember wiping my dining room table with them, inside my microwave. I was a wipe freak because I had a newborn. I thought I had to disinfect everything. And so anyway, I went to the party. I was intrigued by the mop because I'm 6 feet tall. I really didn't even care about the performance of the mop. I was still using cleaner with my mop for like the first year. Yes, I will say that. But I was intrigued the most by the makeup remover cloths because I was sitting there watching this short, sort of retired age woman who was telling me I could take off my makeup with just water, and I'm looking at her, she ain't got a speck of makeup on. So I'm like, what? And I grew up watching two sort of main influences in my life wash their face. My mom, who was a terry cloth, washcloth, just, use whatever's there. And then my Aunt Jill, my dad's sister, who, when I was growing up, like she was in college, she was cool. And she used to put on her like terry cloth headband and her Noxzema, like 14-piece set. I can still smell the Noxzema growing up 20 years later. And so I remember thinking there's probably a better alternative, a quicker alternative, and somewhere in the middle of like, and like 18 million jars and things. So my first purchase was the makeup remover cloths. I got a set of 3. I thought if I can stop going to Herberger's to buy the Clinique makeup remover liquid stuff that you had to put on the cotton balls or the little cotton pads or whatever. That's what I was using. And then whatever cleanser of the month, which was a commercial on TV. Usually I was buying Proactive out the little kiosk in the mall. I would buy Clean and Clear and Clearasil and those little Biore strips. I still use those, but there's just pores. So anyway, makeup remover costs 20 bucks. I spent the $20. But then I remember going into Victoria's kitchen and asking Linda if I could just like touch the mop. Can I just touch it? And so I stood on it and I raised up the mop handle and I'm like, okay, I better book a party because I told my husband I was gonna spend $20. I can't spend $120 because I really wanted the mop. So I ended up booking a party. 2 years later, I was still working. Bella is now a toddler. She's running around, she's eating everything. I remember first time using the mop before I was a consultant without chemicals. My cat, Lily, around here somewhere, she's probably laying in the sun. She walked across the floor right after I had Norwexed it, and she started licking her paws. And I had this moment of like, oh my God, she used to lick Swiffer or whatever the crap that Slumberland sent me home from because we had just got new floors. That's when I really started to like, okay, maybe I'm going to try this out. We had just put in new floors in this old house. So my mind was starting to open up to the idea of chemicals, but I was really liking the makeup remover cloths. I had gotten a whole bunch of free stuff. Guys, I remember throwing away the washing net from Norwex I'd gotten in my hose package. I didn't know what it was and I didn't care about it. I remember throwing it away. Anyway, January of 2012, I had gone in for allergy testing and basically to find out why I was having such a struggle breathing. And so he gave me a list of all this stuff that I'm allergic to. One of them was dust mites and cockroaches and of course cats and dogs, which I already knew, and horses and cattle and lots of trees and weeds. And the printout was pretty eye-opening. There was a lot of yellow, and he highlighted everything in yellow I was supposed to stay away from. There's 3 columns, and like at least 75% of that sheet was yellow. And the 4s are the worst, and the 1s are like not so bad. And of course, cat, dog, cattle, and horse were all 4s, and dust mites and cockroaches. I remember asking my allergist, I said, how can I be allergic to a cockroach? How can I be allergic to a bug? He said, well, you're actually allergic to the fecal matter that the bug leaves behind. And so I said, well, it's a good thing I don't live in New York City anymore. I used to, because we don't really have cockroaches much in North Dakota. So if there's one good thing about all this snow, it's a lack of cockroaches. I'm sure they're around here somewhere, but I've never seen them. But we do have dust mites, and I didn't even know what they were. I thought they were bed bugs. But they're hanging out on my couch right now with my cat. They're living in my pillows. They're living in your pillows and your mattresses. And my allergist really kind of opened my eyes to that. He asked me if I was a pillow flipper. Didn't know what that meant. He said, do you flip your pillow in the middle of the night? I said, all night long. So he said, every time you do that and you flip your pillow and then you put your head back down, all of that that's in your pillow comes up. And what comes up must come down. And so it settles back down on my face. And so I was waking up 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, wake up, puff, puff, go back to sleep. And that was that just kind of became a part of my life. I remember growing up in high school, like having allergy or exercise-induced asthma, which turned into full-fledged asthma. And it really sucks. If you know anybody with asthma, if you suffer from asthma, anyway. So I had this testing done, and then I was invited to a vendor show. This was all happening like, the stars are aligning. I was invited to a vendor show here in Velva. I remember going there, and there was Linda with all of her Norwex, and in my mind, I was like, I kind of want that pink mitt for the bathroom, because I like pink. Didn't have gray back then. So, okay, I'm gonna go get this pink mitt, $25, remember. So I buy the mitt, and I went home, and I told my husband I bought this mitt for scrubbing, and he goes, is that Norwex stuff? Yeah. And he said, I just talked to Linda's husband, Bob. My husband knows him. My husband used to work at the bank here in town, and Bob used to come in and just BS with him. And Bob told my husband that they had just gotten back in January that month from a Mexico all expenses paid trip with Norwex. And so I got home from this vendor show, and Ryan's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Bob told me that him and Linda went to Mexico on Norwex. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And Ryan goes, you should join. We need to go on a second honeymoon. And I remember in my old house, in my bedroom, I was sitting there holding my dusting mitt, and I said, what are you smoking? I'm like, I work a full-time job. And then like little wheels started turning. I'm okay. So I called my mom. I said, what do you think? Ryan thinks I should start selling Norwex. Absolutely not. You've got a toddler, and Ryan, I have 2 stepchildren from his first marriage, and they were living with their mom at the time in Bismarck, which is a 2-hour drive. He was going to Bismarck sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, and I had a toddler at home. Plus I was working full-time. He was working full-time. Totally out of the question. I don't think so. It's a very stupid idea. Okay. So I called my grandma, who's kind of my number 2. Well, my number 3, because now my husband's my number 1. So I called my grandma. Oh, honey, I don't know. Your cousin, she kind of tried something like that. Well, this particular cousin was selling sort of, what do I want to call it? bedroom accessories. And so I remember telling my grandma, and totally nothing against any of those bedroom accessories, by the way. I said, Grandma, she's selling vibrators. This is different. She goes, okay, well, if you put your mind to it, I'm sure you can make it happen. Okay, thanks, Grandma. So I had like 2 nays and a yes, but he really just wanted to go on a trip. So I'm like, well, so then I went back to the vendor show, still going on. And I showed up and it was kind of phasing out. Some people were still there, some people weren't. And Linda, of course, was still there. And I said, I was wondering, do you have any information about like becoming a consultant? And if you know Linda, oh my God, she underneath her table, hold on. And she's digging under her table trying to find some piece of paper to give me, and she found it. And then she gives it to me. It was about basically joining Norwex, but kind of on a really big, scary level in terms of leadership, which I was not interested in. But I'd had the allergy testing. I had been intrigued by some of the products. So I thought, okay, my husband thinks that we need to go on a trip, but this isn't going to happen. So one of the people still at this vendor show was my stepmom. And so I said, I think I'm going to try to sign up and try Norwex. And she's like, oh, well, I'll host a party for you. I'm like, okay, I guess so. So I went home. This was the end of January. I called Linda back. I said, I want to sign up. And she goes, okay. Oh my God. Okay. And back then, this is 2012, Norwex now is not the Norwex then. And so we were just launching some of these incentives that you guys have seen below in these posts from yesterday. One of them is the Fresh Start. So the very first month I joined in February of 2012 was the very first month of Fresh Start. And she knew that that was coming from communications from Norwex. And she said, please just wait until February. And so I believe it was a Monday. I'm not totally sure, but it was February 3rd when I signed up, and I had to fax in my application, and I had to do it at the computer store because I didn't have a fax machine at home. That was the only way you could sign up. And I am like I still call my high school principal Mr. Henderson, so I'm not a rule breaker. So I remember going into work early and like sweating like pits. Oh my God, because I had to fax this in and I had to use the company machine. Send in my fax. Went through, okay, take the paper, hide it so nobody sees it, like don't go delete the fax record so it's not there. And I did it, and I signed up, and then I told my husband, well, so excited. So anyway, Jen had her party, my mom had a party, things kind of started rolling from there. I had 3 parties later into those bookings. I had my first party where I had 3 bookings, and I literally started crying at this lady's house. She just lives a few blocks away. I'm like, oh my God. And so things were rolling, and you know, yes, it was 6 years ago, but do you know somebody that doesn't know about Norwex? I still do. I've got a sister-in-law who's still never seen it, and it's 6 years later. So I joined for a lot of reasons. I think originally it was my husband like encouraging me, which I know can be rare. Some husbands are like, nah, this is dumb. Don't listen to them. Listen to you. Listen to you. Because if I listened to my mom and grandma, I wouldn't be here. I'd still be working full time. And did I not like my job? I liked my job. It was a job. It was something I thought was going to be my career. I mean, I grew up with the go to high school, go to college, get a job mentality. Like that's what my parents did. Even though they struggled with little children, I kind of was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it the right way, which was my right way. So I didn't join Norwex for the career at first. I really joined for a couple different reasons, and one of them was the products. The mattress cleaner, when I started using that, and I wasn't using my inhaler anymore, and my husband wasn't in the bathroom anymore, that was a game changer. So everything was kind of building on each other, and the more I talked about it, the more I took pictures of my products that I started using, because when I signed up, I had used like maybe a handful of products. Yes, I liked the mop, it was tall. The dusting mitt was great, but I didn't like dusting, so I tried to pawn that off on my children, which was kind of a half-ass, but whatever, it worked. They did it to a point. But within 6 months, I was told by Linda, because I had no idea, that I was on track for the trip, the incentive trip. So we went to Dominican Republic, and I had no idea what was going on. My husband ended up buying in. My parents bought into it because it was such a big deal that we were actually going to go out of the country and go somewhere. So we went to the Dominican Republic, and once you go on a trip, you don't want to not go on a trip. So from there, the next year, I invited my sister. We went to Belize and Cozumel on a cruise. My first year of earning my trip and my husband's trip was Costa Rica. I earned 2 trips with 2 airfare, completely free. We flew to Costa Rica. It was literally still the best trip. I've been on 6 trips now. Costa Rica was amazing. Hawaii, Oahu was pretty awesome. Mexico last year was really nice. Hard Rock, Lashandi, that was the first time I had 2 team members. It was actually the first time I had any team members come with on a trip, and that was super, super awesome. Jessica and Lashandi were there. And then just last month, Panama, and Lashandi and I were there again. Not my best trip, but it was still a trip. It was not North Dakota in February. So there was a whole bunch of reasons for that, but you don't need to know that. So my why with this company has really progressed. It's from products to trips to, I think I might be able to quit this job that I'm working from 8 to 5, sometimes 6. Every other Saturday, coming home sometimes crying because I don't like to hire and fire people. Hiring's not such a bad deal, but firing really sucks. And I really liked the customer interaction at the computer store. I did not like the managerial aspect of it. It was just, I don't like to disappoint people. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, after a year, I was a sales leader. My grandmother, I remember, had just had a mini stroke. I was very overwhelmed. I was paying daycare. I was helping my husband with all of the bills. I was trying to pay gas. I remember going through the dollar menu at McDonald's all the time for lunch because I literally was scraping by in my checkbook. And I thought, this is stupid. Daycare is ridiculously expensive. The cost of living in general is pretty expensive, and we're only living in North Dakota. So I took a risk. My husband said, if it doesn't work, you can go back to work, but let's just take a gamble and go Norwex. So I was really, really loving it. That was March of 2013. I quit, and that was such a good decision. It was really, really stressful. I remember calling my dad. And I had been married since 2009. I was definitely out of the nest. And I called my dad and I said, I'm going to quit at the computer store. And he said, you're going to use your degree to sell mops? And I said, well, I'm going to try. And my paychecks at the time, my personal sales were definitely growing, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000 a month, 35% of that. But my leadership income was, let's just say maybe anywhere from $50 to $200 a month, just depending on the month. So it wasn't like 6 figures after a year, but it was growing, and I saw the potential. My husband saw the potential. He's always told me this from day one. He's like, you can work your tail off, but you're in North Dakota. A, you need to get out of the state, and B, you need to get people under you. You need to grow a team. Excuse me. So I probably really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my husband. And if he was watching this, he'd be giving himself one of these. But it grew very quickly. I shouldn't say very quickly. It grew steadily, which was easy for me to handle. Because if it grew too quickly, I'd probably just, I don't know. Some people can't handle that kind of thing. I don't know that I would have been able to. But it was really exciting to start earning full trips, to start being recognized for my effort. I remember taking a shower within my first 2 or 3 months. I showered every day. But I remember after my first 2 or 3 months in Norwex, and I was getting things in the mail, free product, well done, good job. I'm getting emails from people that work in Norwex saying you did, and I'm like, I don't ever get patted on the back at the computer store. Not because they were bad people. It wasn't that atmosphere. And like, do you ever get patted on the back for doing a load of laundry? Give me a break. So I was like, this is nice. Like, recognition. We're women. I like it. I don't know about you guys. Even it was like, hey, you did a good job today. Thanks. So all of that was just making me feel, guys, I could talk forever, but I'm not going to. It was the best decision, hands down, other than saying yes to my husband and the decision we made together to get pregnant. Best decision I've ever made. It has changed my life. It has changed the way I feel about myself. It has changed the physical and mental growth and physical growth. Well, I guess I do exercise more than I used to, but so many ways that I've changed. And the friendships, I love this part of the business. There's so many awesome people on this team, and so many of them are in this event. It's just amazing. And since joining 6 years ago, I think that this world has really shifted, not only in terms of their attitude towards healthy cleaning and healthy living and healthy eating, but I think it's shifting towards direct sales in general. I mean, my mom recently has become a direct seller. My sister is killing it in what she's doing. So it's really fun to sort of like prove to not only myself, but I guess to our family that like, hey, we're gonna do this, and we're strong women, and we don't need to, you know, an 8 to 5 there's nothing wrong with it. But if you don't want to do it, if you want to stay home with a house that's clean and quiet, I mean, my kids are at school, but this is so nice. If I am feeling crappy and don't want to go to work, I don't have to call in sick. That part is fantastic, because being a manager and calling in sick really sucked, because you just felt like you were letting the world down. So if Bella's sick, I can stay home with her. It's just wonderful. Tomorrow there will be no makeup, so you're welcome. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you've held on this long, you're awesome. Thank you.